So thank you all, and good morning, everyone. This will be our next debate is for the City of Ferndale Council Position 7, and the two candidates on the ballot for this race are candidates Fegan and Llanos. The Ferndale City Council is the legislative and policy-making body of city government. Council members are responsible for passing laws through ordinance and policies through resolutions, and approve the city's annual budget initially proposed by the mayor. The position 2 term of office is 4 years with an annual salary of $7,300. We will follow these specific rules for the debate. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes each for an opening statement. They will have 1 minute to respond to each question and will make a 1-minute closing statement. Each candidate has a challenge card. Why don't you hold up your cards? And candidates may use this card to challenge or rebut their opponent's response. The challenging candidate will have 45 seconds to state the challenge, and his opponent will have 45 seconds to respond to the challenge. Each candidate may use their challenge card just one time. Our timers are Judy Hopkinson and Elizabeth Dean, and the timers will flash a yellow sign when 15 seconds remain and a red sign to signal time is up. If a candidate continues, a bell will be rung, and that means really stop talking. We ask the candidates be respectful of the time allotted due to the limited amount of time that we have and our desire to include as many questions as possible. An important goal of the league is civil discussion, and to that end, we would also ask that those in the audience be respectful and refrain from comments, as well as to please hold their applause until the conclusion of the debate. Some questions were prepared by our league's question committee, but we encourage members of the audience to provide written questions which should be addressed to all of the candidates. Ushers are available to pick up your questions and bring them to the screener's table. Ushers, are you there? Yes, they're in the back of the room. And if you have a question that you'd like to propose to the candidates, please just lift your index card in the air and the ushers will pick them up. The questions will be screened then by league members Annette Holcomb and Cindy Madigan, and they will be screened for legibility and clarity and to avoid duplication. Each candidate will be asked to respond to the same question during the debate portion. For this debate, question, I was given a card so I would know who was going to go first. Maybe they can help me here. For this debate, candidates rolled the dice, and the high roller had the choice of going first with their opening statement or having the last closing statement. And candidates, who's going first? Mr. Llanos. Mr. Llanos, would you please make your opening statement?
Thank you. I have lived in the Pacific Northwest for 30 years and in Whatcom County for 25. I've been married for 26 years and I have 2 daughters that went to Ferndale High School. This is my home and I want to bring my experience to help this community. I've been endorsed by many long-term Ferndale residents like Teresa Taylor, Gary Jensen that's here, I can see him there, Todd McKernan, my former opponent, and many more. That I want to find places to save money before finding places to spend money. I want, if elected, I want to treat the taxpayers' money as my money and spend it wisely in a fiscally conservative way. We need to be preventive and not reactive. I have a master's in civil engineering in over 30 years experience as a professional engineering, during which I worked on many multi-million-dollar projects and saved many clients, including cities, millions of dollars. Some of the experience that is relevant to this position, I'm going to just briefly describe. I work on roads, traffic, and infrastructure that the city needs help with. I have been involved in the design and construction of over 30 miles of roads in Whatcom County, including 2 miles of the Guide Meridian, as well as 2 roundabouts. On affordable housing, I've been involved in many single multifamily and single family projects, both public and private, adding several thousands of units to this community. As far as we have a new school coming up, I've been involved in almost all the buildings for the Northwest Indian College, as well as the City of Ferndale Library. The City Hall is in the courthouse, something is coming our way, and I was part of the construction management of the Lummi Tribal Center that include a courthouse that is way larger than the City of Ferndale will ever have. I've been involved in parks and trails too. I was the engineer. Okay. Thank you.
And candidate Fegan.
Thank you for being here this morning, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I'm Mary-Lise Fegan, and I'm running for Ferndale City Council, position 7. City Council members are tasked with a broad range of decisions that will affect our community for years to come, and helping make these decisions is a responsibility that I take seriously. I am a collaborator and problem solver, and I'm not afraid to ask tough questions to work with and for the residents of Ferndale toward reasonable, well-balanced solutions and growth. I work as a paralegal and office manager at Boundary Bay Law, where I have a background in reviewing business plans and financial records for investment projects ranging from multi-million-dollar hotel, restaurant, and retail complexes to dental offices and gas stations, and preparing applications to government agencies in compliance with applicable code and regulations. I also work to translate dense and convoluted legal rules to make them understandable and accessible. When I'm not working, I'm a behavioral engineer, or a parent, to 2 boys who attend school here in Ferndale. Additionally, my husband and I are active volunteers with our Ferndale Police Department's Auxiliary Communications Service and Whatcom Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, which works under the umbrella of the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office. I decided to run for City Council after spending about 18 months volunteering on the High School Bond Task Force, which was the Bond Development Committee, and the Support Ferndale Schools campaign. I believe serving in our City Council is the next step in my service to our community, and that I am prepared by my professional, personal, and community experience to step into this role and begin working for our city and community from day one. Thank you.
And so the questions will begin with candidate Fegan. And would you please tell us that the personal and professional experiences that you have that you would bring as a city council member that would most inform your decision-making and distinguish you from your opponent?
So as I just mentioned a little bit in my opening statement, I am a paralegal. I became a paralegal after having attended Whatcom Community College in the Paralegal Studies program and having attended Western Washington University in Fairhaven College and designing my own interdisciplinary degree. I take an interdisciplinary approach to the things that I do, and I plan to bring that approach to my work on the City Council. I plan to look at all of the different issues that we have from multiple angles and bring together different problem-solving techniques and different information to be able to look at those issues outside of just its own little bubble and use a collaborative approach to deal with those issues.
And Mr. Llanos.
Thank you. Sorry. As I said before, I have a master's in civil engineering, and part of my master's is in construction management and project management. So anytime there's negotiations, challenges, road projects that I'm very experienced with road projects. I can question the city or the consultant and say, okay, why don't we do this way or not this way? Because I have the knowledge to question the consultant. And same thing for housing. I've been part of thousands of units of housing, and I know how it's built, what the regulations are, and how we can make those regulations better so we can make affordable housing really affordable. Again, it's just my 30 years of experience that I bring to the table on many related issues that are a problem in the city. Thank you.
Beginning this question with Mr. Llanos, Ferndale is growing fast with more families moving to the city. What additional investments do you think the city should make to meet the needs of these young families?
That's a good question. And one of the problems with growth is infrastructure. We are lacking on infrastructure. The city is trying to secure money, and my approach is not just to be reactive and find ways to reduce usage of water, for example, that I'm doing personally. There's ways I reduce my water consumption in my own house by 50%. the increase of the water rates is going to be 15%. If everybody did what I did, there will be a huge reduction in usage. I know my situation was a little bit different, but infrastructure, parks, roads, multifamily, affordable housing, in all those areas, I have multiple years of experience, and I can help the city make the right decisions, make the right changes to promote affordable housing and help in the infrastructure. Thank you.
And Ms. Fegan?
To help with the growth that we're experiencing and to help young families and every resident here in Ferndale, I think we need to, again, find ways to develop our infrastructure, but some of that also includes developing an identity and becoming a self-sustaining city. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to become a huge city, but it does mean that we need to have the infrastructure here and the business infrastructure here to be able to support our local needs, so people don't have to drive to Bellingham every time they need something, so that people have places here to have recreational opportunities here locally, and they don't, again, have to drive down to Bellingham in order to be able to do that. So I would like to look at developing a bit of an identity for Ferndale, so that we can draw people here, draw businesses here, so that we can support ourselves.
And Ms. Fegan, Ferndale has been known historically as a relatively affordable community in Whatcom County. However, housing prices are increasing. What specific steps would you take to maintain and increase the affordable housing stock in Ferndale?
We are seeing a lot of overflow from Bellingham. Housing has become a real problem in Bellingham, and we're starting to see that flood over into Ferndale. There are a number of different programs that are available to encourage affordable housing. One of the ones that I'm familiar with and I would like to try to encourage more of here is the Colchian Community Land Trust. Opportunities to try to keep housing prices affordable for families and for first-time home buyers to be able to enter the housing market. We also need to address some of the multifamily housing volume here in our city and work to concentrate that in areas that will be effective at taking advantage of our transportation infrastructure and working on growing our transportation infrastructure to be able to support that.
And Mr. Llanos?
Thank you. I think we should lead by example. I helped the city write the zero lot line code that allowed attached single-family residence that significantly reduced the cost of the houses. I also helped the city write the ADU code. That's also a very helpful way to provide an assistance to your mortgage. I was part of the Whatcom. I've been endorsed by Whatcom Council of Affordable Housing. That's a reason why they endorsed me. They believe that I believe in affordable housing. The other thing is affordable housing is not just the cost of the house, it's the cost of maintaining the house, paying the utilities. So we have to educate the public and figure out how to reduce their cost of power, water, sewer, heating, and everything else. Thank you.
And then, beginning with Mr. Llanos, what is your opinion of the proposed Catalyst program for downtown redevelopment, and how do you think it will impact growth and economic development in the city?
That's a very good question. I wasn't part of the decision, or it was the previous council, but I think that it's been proven in other locations, and if it worked, we haven't really seen anything new in the downtown core for 40 years. We have to do something about it. And it's only 0 through 3 projects. A lot of people are saying in kind of vilifying the process. I think that we have to try something. We cannot just be stagnant and say, well, we're not going to try anything. So I think that it's going to provide an incentive for somebody to come in, invest the money, tear a building down that otherwise it wouldn't make economic sense, and put a nice new building, and bring some businesses, bring some people to want to come to downtown. I think it's a great idea, and I support it. Again, I wasn't part of the program. It was the existing council, but I think we should try something. We cannot just sit back and do nothing. So, thank you.
And Ms. Fegan?
The Catalyst program, in my opinion, it's a good foundation. The form in which it was currently passed, I think, is incomplete. There were a number of parts of the program that were rushed and were not fully thought through and fully developed at the time that the program was passed. So I found that to be a little bit disappointing. That said, the underlying concept of the Catalyst program I do believe is sound. We do need to reinforce particularly business development in our downtown core so that we can become a self-sustaining city, so that we can take advantage of some of the business revenue that comes from having more businesses attracted to being here in Ferndale and located in close proximity to our residents. So.
Thank you. And Ms. Fegan, this question will begin with you. Ferndale is one of the most diverse cities in our county. What is the city's role in addressing issues of diversity and inclusion for its residents?
This is something that I think has come up in recent months with the topics of the flyers that we've seen plastered around our city, the white supremacist flyers. We do need to take a proactive approach to making sure that everybody in our community is welcome and feels safe here. A big part of promoting that is, I believe, working with young people to try to get them involved and encourage them to be participant in our city in a government way, and also through the activities that we have, that the city sponsors. I've been really encouraged to see the activities that the Parks Department has been putting on, and getting people out and interacting with their community, I think, is probably the best way that the city can promote feelings of inclusiveness and making sure that everybody in our community feels safe and valued.
And Ms. Gianos.
Thank you. I think I'm a perfect example of diversity. I'm sitting right here. You know, I moved from Peru. I was born and raised there. For political reasons, had to leave the country, moved to this country, and I feel welcome. There's very few people that don't make me feel welcome. So I think the city's doing a great job. The Fiestas Patrias is a great way to feel the Mexican and Hispanic community included. I think there's always the few that ruin for the most. So I think we're doing great. We have to just do more events to encourage the diversity community to blend in together. We can all learn from each other. There's so many things that I've done in the different places that we can try here and vice versa. So I think that it's just more events, and I feel welcome here. Otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. Thank you.
Ms. Trianos, what role does the City Council have in maintaining and improving relationships, collaboration, and cooperation with our Lummi and Nooksack neighbors, with the County Council, with the school district, and other state and local entities? I've
been working with the Lummi Nation for many, many years, actually 25 years now. And I believe that there used to be, there's been a change in position from the city, and now we're starting to work with the Lummi Nation better. We're neighbors, we have a common goal. There's a lot of Lummi students that come to our school, so we need to be more embracing to their culture. Maybe have language classes here, and I know the Lummi High School has classes for their language, but they were here before we were, so we need to work with them. And I think they have a lot to bring to the table. They're a family-oriented community, and we need to reach out and embrace their culture too. Thank you.
And Ms. Fegan.
Working with our neighbors, and that includes Lummi, that includes the school district, that includes the county. Working with them in a collaborative way, I think, is going to be an absolutely fundamental part of making sure that we are stable and advanced in our community here. We need to promote communication between those different groups and start conversations that get us beyond functioning as our own independent cells. We need to educate ourselves about what the function is of each of those different groups. So that means making sure that as a city council member, I and all of the other council members and members of city staff understand what the roles are of each of those different entities, whether it be the Lummi government, whether it be the county government, whether it be the school district.
And Ms. Fegan, many residents of Ferndale commute to other parts of the county for work. Are current transportation resources adequate to meet the needs of Ferndale residents, particularly as we consider the need to reduce vehicle carbon emissions? And if not, what do you suggest?
Absolutely not. Our transportation infrastructure is not sufficient. I am one of those people who has to transport myself every day down to Bellingham for my work, and I do have to drive my car. On occasion, I have had to take the bus, and it is terrible. It takes over an hour from the time you get on the bus here in Ferndale till you get off the bus in the downtown core of Bellingham, and that is unacceptable. The WTA, until recently, did not seem to be aware of the fact that it took that long to commute from Ferndale to Bellingham. Conversations need to be had with WTA to help them remember that Ferndale is part of Whatcom County and it absolutely needs to be served and needs to be served better.
And Mr. Llanos.
I agree with your statement, Marlise. There's a bus stop right in front of my house. And I was always wondering why, when I see the buses going by, they're empty or they have 2 or 3 people. And then I researched the fact that it takes forever to go from A to B. So why would people use the service if it's going to take so long? I would promote for WTA to try some free rides and maybe subsidized by the city to see if they're going to use it. We're so used to drive our own car. Nobody carpools, nobody. So maybe just try it out and see if it works, because it might be that it makes no difference. People still don't want to drive their car, they don't want to carpool, and it's not going to make a difference. So I believe it's not sufficient what we have, but we should try and see if making adjustments will help or not.
And unfortunately, this is our last question, but it's a gem. It allows you to dream. If you were given, and we'll start with Mr. Llanos, if you were given $1 million grant for the city, what would you do with it and why?
This question was asked before, so I would help and educate the city residents on how to reduce the cost of living and the cost of housing. One of the things I did on my own personal residence is I reduced the water usage by 50%. I don't think that most people will be able to attain that much, because that house I remodeled was built in 1905. But there's a chance to reduce the water usage by changing toilets. So promote and maybe subsidize part of that change. Offer the residents, I'm going to give you like a toilet replacement program where the city's going to pay for half of it. The other part you're going to pay for the labor, and monitor the impact of our wastewater treatment plant and our water treatment plant on that change from most efficient systems on your house.
And Ms. Fegan.
As was previously mentioned with some of the other candidates when they were asked this question, $1 million is not a lot in a city budget. When I've talked about this before, I always go back to the priorities that I see for the city. The priorities have to be looking at best use of those funds for infrastructure, for removing some of the burden of the cost of maintaining and developing that infrastructure on our residents. The other thing that we can do is look at using it to encourage downtown businesses, to try to develop our tax base, our business tax base, to again help offset some of the costs to our residents here in Ferndale.
And for our closing statements today, we're going to start first with Mr. Llanos.
Thank you. As I said earlier, I want to find places to save money before finding places to spend money. If elected, I'll treat the taxpayers' money as my money and spend it wisely. I want to promote a buy local, hire local for the local businesses. So if the city has to buy something, invite the local businesses. If they're equal or cheaper than a Bellingham business, hire it locally. I think I have the experience to help the city grow in a smart way, controlled and educated way. I've been working in the civil engineering industry for 30 years, and I've seen cities grow, and I've worked with cities many times. Please visit my website. It's Vote Ferndale, or call me. 815-HOME is my number. Thank you.
And Ms. Fegan.
Our city is facing important decisions regarding our infrastructure and direction of growth. I will use my broad-based interdisciplinary background and approach to problem solving to look at how issues are connected in ways that may not be readily apparent, and use that information to find creative ways to position our city to be ready to manage the challenges ahead. I will work to encourage participation from our community members who bring an amazing amount of knowledge and creativity to these important conversations about how the problems we are facing today and those that will emerge tomorrow can be addressed. As your next City Council member, I will work to plan for our city's future success. I will work to ensure that Ferndale's services and infrastructure keep pace with the rate of growth, and that growth doesn't outstrip the city's capacities to support it. Thank you for taking your time this morning to be here. As a voter, you get to use your vote to choose who will serve our community in this decision-making capacity for the next several years, and I would be honored to receive your vote to serve on City Council.
Everyone, please join me in thanking your candidates.